Dementia can significantly impair cognitive abilities, including memory, judgment, and reaction time, which are crucial for safe driving. As dementia progresses, driving becomes increasingly unsafe. So today, in this episode of In the Legal Know, Vincent J. Russo will address when should a person with dementia stop driving. Very different subject from what we've been, what we've talked about before, but really extremely important, right?
Oh, so important. I'll start off with saying that there are over 51 million seniors driving, and most of them are driving safely. So we're not going to bash the seniors today. But if there are signs of dementia, then it becomes a real safety issue. And so taking steps to first identify, is someone having an issue driving, I think would be where I would start. So let's look at some of those indicators.
Okay.
Poor judgment. This would be poor judgment, misjudging distances or speeds, or taking unnecessary risks. Frequent honking or complaints by others to you. So maybe you're not paying attention, or you're sliding into a lane and unfortunately causing someone to get around you. Damage to your vehicle. If you start to see that, oh, now here's a new ding, and it's unexplained, or scratches. And then on this one, confusion, anxiety, or stress while driving. Confusion at intersections, or getting lost, or feeling anxiety and stress and venting while you're driving with someone else in the car. Those are four. I have four more, all right? Because there are a lot of different indicators, and everybody's situation is different. Slow reaction times. I mean, this would be someone with a sudden stop, or they're driving 30 miles an hour when they should be driving at a faster rate. Difficulty with lane changes can be an indicator. Increased accidents or near misses, and ignoring traffic signals, or driving through a red light and not paying attention. So with these indicators, we know statistically that as someone enters into their 70s and beyond, there is an increase in the number of accidents per that population group. So it is a concern, a serious concern, not only for the well-being of that individual, but for others who are driving on the road or pedestrians.
You started by saying that the amount of seniors that we have out there driving, they're doing fine. And I think one of the things that we see, you talked about judgment, is that so many seniors realize, I can't drive at night anymore. I'm not comfortable driving. So they have a rational process. But what you're saying here is that that rational process seems to be disappearing in some ways, right? So how do we approach someone who we see is not making good judgment or thinking clearly about driving?
So the key is communication, and the starting point is how to approach that conversation. So choosing the right time and place, a calm, quiet moment where that person also is not upset about other things, so that you can have that kind of conversation. Focus on safety. This well-being of the person who you love, that you're concerned about, and then the safety of others. Give examples, but you got to be really careful with the examples. But give examples of where some driving wasn't on course or appropriate, or poor judgment, and point those out. And then talk about other alternatives to transportation. This will vary depending on where you live. You're in New York City, public transportation is more readily available than, let's say, if you're on Long Island. So, but there are alternatives, and there are family or friends who will jump in and help with getting someone from one place to the other. It's a tough one, because the senior wants to control their lives. They want autonomy, and the car is often a link to that autonomy. And so we don't want to push someone into a world of depression or feeling lost. On the other hand, we want to balance it, right, with safety.
And I live with a priest, and he's gone home to God, but tried some of these conversations with him, and they didn't go well. Tried all these things. So what do you do when you hit a wall, so to speak, in this conversation, and you're not guiding the person into another direction?
Yeah.
Is there something that we can do?
Take a big, deep breath and pause, right? So here are 3 tips. One is to stay calm and be patient. It's a process. You're not going to have one conversation and necessarily solve the problem that you're trying to address. Give that person time to process. It may take multiple conversations. So you want to revisit your conversation at a later appropriate time.
Okay. So we call this in the legal know. We haven't talked a lot of legal things here at this point. All else fails.
Yeah.
Are there legal options and ways to pursue with really trying to take care of a situation where, like as you said, this is a danger to them and danger to others?
Yeah, and this is a really difficult area because of the rights that every individual has to live freely. So let's start with encouraging a medical examination. That may work because it's not too forceful on that individual in terms of worrying about losing their ability to drive. But a medical examination, a doctor can assess the situation, and if there's a real concern on the doctor's part, they may even be able to report that to the Department of Motor Vehicle. Second is the legal side of it. Some states will allow individuals to report to the DMV of a concern, and then they may require a driver's test or a medical examination. So depending on where you live, there may be laws that'll help you move that process along. Family intervention. That would be wonderful, right?
Yeah.
If we can get family members to come together and say, hey, Mom, Dad, here's what's going on. We love you, right? We love you, but we want to protect you. We have these concerns. And then professional assistance. And so there are a good number of resources that are available, and professionals can help.
We talk a lot, in all the topics that you bring to us, we talk a lot about the person, but we also talk about, support for those who are the caregiver, right? So
Right.
what are some of the supports that might be available to family members, caregivers who are going through this and are trying to go through this process with helping their loved one be safe?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. You don't have to go it alone, right? You're the caregiver, you want to help your loved one, so there are resources. We can start with healthcare professionals. That would be where I think would be a good starting point to talk to those professionals. How do you have the conversation? What kind of medical assessments should be done? Then we can look at support groups. There are a number of support groups out there. Join a support group, find out what other people are doing, what's working, what's not working. Counseling services can be helpful. Local aging agencies are all over the country. They have a tremendous number of resources. Elder law attorney or financial advisor can help on the issue of insurance and contracts and the law pertaining to whether you can stop someone or not. Community transportation services, as I mentioned, there's rideshare. There are other options for people to get around and to take advantage of those. And then lastly, educational resources. So AARP, AAA, the Alzheimer's Association are all tremendous organizations. There are so many resources on the websites with those organizations that can help you.
Yeah. A through line, I think, in a lot of these discussions is avoiding the conversation, right? And we have to have the difficult conversations, and they are difficult ones with dealing with someone who is moving into greater and greater depth of dementia. And so this is one aspect of it. And thank you so much for sharing that with us and keeping us mindful. I know so many of our viewers who are with us these are the things that they're dealing with. So thank you, Vincent, for being with us today and giving us some insight.
My pleasure. We all need to drive safely.
That's right.